Hi everyone, in this video I'm going to be talking to you about the transformation tools in Blender. Transformation tools consist of scale, rotate, any kind of distortion or transformation of the object itself. Now, in one of my previous videos, I talked through some of the shortcuts for this. For example, if I have my default cube selected, I can press S to scale, I can press R to rotate, I can press G to grab. And those three are probably the most common transformation tools we have available to us. Now, there are certain things we can add on to that to make our transformations more specific. If we want to move something, we may want to move it a certain distance, we may want to snap it, we may want to rotate it by a certain degree. How do we go about doing that? Well, what you do is you immediately type the corresponding value after you've typed your shortcut. For example, if I press G to grab and I want to move my cube, let's say 2 meters along the green axis to the right, I would first press Y to snap it to the Y axis, and then I would type 2 on my keyboard. And if you look in the top left-hand corner of your screen, you can say I've now got equals 2 meters. Okay, so we just press 2. We don't have to click and input a value anywhere. We just type 2 on our keyboard and Blender understands. I then hit enter and my cube has moved 2 meters. Control Z to undo that. Again, if I press G to grab, and let's do the X-axis now. Let's say I want to move it 10 meters in the minus Y direction, and we can check that because in the top left-hand corner, it will say minus a value. I just type minus 10 on my keyboard and it's moved 10 meters in the negative X. You can tell if you're going in the negative direction by looking at the value in the top left and also looking at your gyro in the top right. You see we have an X, Y, and Z colored icon here, and we've got the same colored icons but without the letter on. That means they're in the negative. So the red icon here without the X in it is the negative X. The red icon with the X is positive. And that simply means you're adding a minus or just a normal number when you're moving your objects. Let's do the rotate tool. So R to rotate, and same thing. I can do X to rotate it just in the X, Y just in the Y, and Z to effectively spin it around. And let's say I wanted to spin it around 45 degrees. I just type 45, hit enter, and it's done so. Scale works a little differently because it's not a measurement, it's a factor. So if I want to double the size of my my cube, I type S to scale, and to double it, I just type 2 and hit enter like so. It's important that when you're transforming your objects and you're like stretching them out or scaling them, that you then do this. You then type Control A and apply the relevant transformation. So I've just scaled this up by 2. And if I was doing something like texturing, it will distort my textures. And if I'm doing UV editing in particular, it will cause a few issues. All simple to resolve, but it's a good habit to get into that when you're scaling or stretching an object, you then type Control A and apply that scale. So then Blender knows not to distort or stretch your textures as well. Now those are the shortcuts. We also have certain boxes where we can input values, and you'll actually have that menu open by default in Blender. Here we have a transform menu, and you can see we've got location, rotation, and scale. If I click and drag on any one of those values, you can see that the cube has moved. So if you prefer inputting a value in a certain place, we can do so here. So if I want to move it 5 meters on the X, I'm going to hit enter and it's moved. If I want to rotate it 45 degrees on the Y, it's done so. And of course, Control Z to undo all of that. Maybe you don't want to have to jump into this menu time after time. Maybe you're in your modifiers and you want to focus on that. Then there is a third option, which is up next to your gyro. You've got this tiny little arrow popping out to the left, really tiny. Just click on it and a transform menu appears and will allow you to do the same thing. I think what's also important to mention at this point is that I've been working in meters. What if you're working off a ground plan and it's in millimeters? You don't want to waste time converting those measurements. Even with your basic transformations, it's going to slow you down. What you then want to do is go into your scene properties, which is this little icon here with the cone and the little circle next to it. And you'll see we've got an option that says units. We're going to click on that. And we change these according to how we want to work. It's as simple as that. So whether you're working in metric or imperial, if I wanted to change my length to millimeters, I'm going to click on meters, change it to millimeters, and you can see now all my values have changed. And when I press G to grab, the value in the top left-hand corner of the screen has also changed to millimeters. So really quick and easy to change those. And despite popular belief, it is actually really simple to work in specific measurements and create something architecturally accurate in Blender if you follow those steps. So there we go. There's a quick guide to the transformation tools and specific transformations in Blender.